Yo. Now we're live. Ay, utatuambia kama unatusikia hapa mic check. Unatusikia hiyo side?
One second, just switching to my nini sasa. I can hear you now. Tell me something.
Mic check. Good. Nice. You hapo safi, si ndio?
Yeah, I can hear you guys there clearly.
Nice, thank you. Wacha tuanze. Asante sana. Okay, so so let's see how many guys on this roof. You can see how many guys on the stream. Let me just check.
One.
Oh, we have one.
Another concurrent viewer. We have one concurrent viewer.
Okay.
For sure.
A good thing also will record for playback by so guys can play it back.
Yeah.
So let me see if we refresh this. I think it's got something to go.
Yeah.
So if I go back. Oh, so okay, that's good.
Yep.
So we have Adagala. Let me see. Two watching now. The good thing they can always catch up. Single,
Yes.
you know, kind of,
Can always play
because
back.
of the,
Yeah.
time. So, welcome. This is our very first one. We're having to fly the plane while fixing it.
It's the most fun way of flying a plane. Yeah.
So, we'll just start with a quick intro. Like, I would like to know. I know you work at Microsoft, you're a software engineer at Microsoft.
Yes.
But I want to know your journey into tech. Like, how did you start?
Yeah. Fantastic. My journey into tech is very, very normal to every Nairobi engineer. So I started coding when I was right after high school. So this is right after Form 4. Didn't have anything to do, so I started picking up coding. So that's when I started to self-teach myself before I went to university. Went to university, did a course in IT in JKUAT, and then started picking up like jobs in most of just consulting. And yeah, that's how I picked up coding. I tried mobile development, did not work out. In that time, to do mobile, you needed a really good computer. I didn't have a good computer, so web was the way. Web is the way for cheap computers. So that's what I did, and then picked up consulting, and that's how I started my journey. So been at it, been building web applications for the last 7 or so years. Yeah, and now I'm at Microsoft. We can say at the prime of our career.
Nice.
And the only way is up. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so which languages did you dabble in? Like, so the first one, and then how did you?
Yeah, my first language to learn was actually C++. That was basically a learning language. That was the only document that I had like in my availability. And then I started picking up C++, realized that you can't be paid for C++ in Kenya. So moved to Java when trying to Android, and then finally moved to PHP. PHP is where I kind of found my first jobs. That's PHP, and then picked up JavaScript. And then most of my career has been JavaScript related.
So JavaScript Node.
Yeah, Node. This was before Node was a thing. So Node wasn't there yet. It was just jQuery, and basically JavaScript was for the web page. And so you used PHP in the server, JavaScript in the front end. But then started out picking up Angular 1, Vue found us, React found us, Node, and then we took up JavaScript basically. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, I would like you to. I'm sure you've interviewed a number of times.
Yes.
In various places.
Yes, a
So
lot
just
of
give
times.
me some of the experiences.
Yeah. I've interviewed being in Nairobi. Yeah, I've interviewed for every type of organization. Like I remember there's an interview I did where we had a written test, where we needed to answer questions on a piece of paper about coding. I don't even remember the content. And then from the test, we did live coding where we built an application, like 2 applications, and then submitted them on a zip file. I don't even know if those guys checked. I feel like they had whoever finished. So that's actually how I got my first job. So my first job was, here is an application we want you to build a GitHub application, I think, which was like take a GitHub API and then show the repositories, I remember. So that's what I did. I didn't actually finish it, but I did submit something, and yeah, I got the job. Because I got the job only because I finished, I think.
I see.
So there is value in finishing something, even if it's bad. So that's my initial experiences, or that way, just talking to people and building small applications.
I see.
And then the better I became, and then higher the companies I applied for, that's when I started getting into algorithms and data structures. So that I had to self-teach myself, as my journey has been. IT in JKUAT really there isn't much of programming in coursework. So algorithm and data structures aren't commonplace for an IT student.
Yes.
So even though I graduated with a first class from IT.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes.
But the funny part is, even in the first class, I didn't know a thing about algorithm and data structures. So I think that was a unit. There's one unit we had, but it's not enough to pass. So I started teaching myself. That's when I started HackerRank, and So I think my first algorithm and data structures question I did for, if I can remember, was either Andela. It's Andela. Andela is the first place I did algorithm and data structures. Yeah, and I passed. And I got joined Andela. So that was fantastic. But my journey has been that of a lot of trying, like a lot of interviews, and just getting better at it. Yeah.
Now on to our main part of today's conversation.
Yeah.
Your top 5 tips, or there could be even 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let's go.
I think the first thing about preparing for an interview for me is planning. So, like often when I'm trying to get into a position like, let's say Microsoft, the idea was to come up with a curriculum. So I had the privilege to know people who are already in Microsoft. So I asked them like how the interview was, they gave me a few tips, and using that information, I built a curriculum of things I need to study, and then basically did it the high school way. Come up with a timetable. I have an interview on this date, so I need to do this, and that. I think planning is good, so that you don't have that last minute issue of going like telling yourself you do it tomorrow.
Yes.
So that's the thing that gets most people off.
Yeah. So how will you tell someone who I've seen very many people like they have interviews on Monday
Yeah.
and then on Friday when they're looking for
Yeah.
to take off that interview, looking for the books.
Actually,
Go through the YouTube and everything.
actually, it's my experience that it's better to postpone an interview than to go into the interview and prepare.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just better,
Yes.
and everyone appreciates it. Like people are afraid that they are maybe breaking the recruiter's heart, but in the idea, actually, in a recruiter's perspective, that's better.
Much better.
Like, because you're not wasting is a strong word, but we are not going into someone like the interviewer wants to meet you the most prepared because they want you to come into the company. So you just pushing off that. I would advise that person to push off that interview for a bit, for a few more days to give themselves like some time. So a duration I've found to be good for myself is maybe 3 to 4 weeks of preparation, of just remembering stuff. But that's just based on how often you've interviewed before. So in every engineer's journey, there is a time where you are open to new opportunities, and now you are interviewing for multiple companies. So I would say the first interview have it 3 weeks, 4 weeks later. But then from then on you can have interviews together because you've already practiced.
Practice and you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'll be going on a tangent if I asked you like some of the things you used to prepare, like some of the tools, the platforms.
Right. So I initially used to use HackerRank for preparation. So I used to go to HackerRank, take a question, do it, but then I found like LeetCode was like harder questions. Like I found like LeetCode were more aligned with the questions I actually get. And this is mostly for fun companies, so when you're applying to Facebook, Microsoft and the like. LeetCode seems to be more accurate. But I have found people in Microsoft that have told me HackerRank was their choice. So maybe they're improving on the content. So that's basically what I do. I just when I come up with a list, like I'm doing this and I'm doing that. That's something I really liked in the beginning to level up was something called Algo Expert. Yeah, Algo Expert is amazing when it comes to explaining solutions. So you get a problem, you try to do it, you don't do it, and then the guy guides you through like a video explanation of it. It's a bit expensive, but I think it was 10,000 shillings. I think for a yearly subscription because they only have a year, which is kind of pricey. But at the same time, there was a lot of value in it. So I liked that. I liked Algo Expert in the beginning, and then LeetCode after I got the fundamentals of algorithms, started using LeetCode and stuff like that. But yeah. Yep.
And so actually talking of LeetCode,
Yeah.
myself also I'm a big fan. Even on this platform, I've been doing LeetCode questions.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, because I find them to be brief. Well, compared to HackerRank, they're a bit verbose.
Yeah.
Go into stories.
Stories that are
Yeah. So like, just tell you something.
Yeah.
They do so many things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I noticed that with the
LeetCode.
HackerRank.
Yeah.
But HackerRank is good for, let's say, if you don't, even you're not in a hurry, you're just doing preparations.
Yeah.
For getting the material and understanding, I think HackerRank is also good.
Yeah.
Yes. Tip number 2.
Tip number 2 is practice. So tip number 2, I would say is, I feel like a lot of people understand that you should practice for interviews, but they don't understand how often you should do it. So the idea is you should actually be practicing aggressively for a while. And practicing is 2 ways. So you should be practicing questions, like we said, LeetCode, but you should also be time boxing yourself. So practicing to do a question within, so most of the big companies, you'll find you want to do a question between 20 to 25 minutes to leave your time for questions and further questions for the recruiter. So 20 to 25 minutes is a good check for yourself. So I think that's the part people miss when they don't time themselves. Then you don't build that process of brute force initially, and then like improve your solution and stuff like that. You don't work on that pattern.
Okay. You mentioned brute force. Are you gonna talk about a little bit about
Yes.
it? Oh, yeah. Okay, now
I'm going to talk about it
Okay, fine.
as
Okay.
my other point.
Oh, yeah, okay, now.
But
yeah, continue with the practice.
yeah, so practice for me is big. So the time thing is an important one. Another one I feel like people should be doing often that has helped me is literal mock interviews. So get a friend who's like, best case scenario, get your friend who's in the company you want to get into. If you don't have that, get a friend who you think is good at interviewing or at this stuff, and actually have an interview with them. Do a mock interview then, because I feel like that removes jitter. And a lot of interviews, so from my experience of doing this, feedback I've gotten from interviewers are I have improved in my communication, because that's another thing you do in interviews. It's not only the solution, it's communicating what you're doing. So you can't practice that alone. Like in lead code, you can't be talking to yourself. It doesn't make sense. So it's easier to have someone there who's asking you questions. And the beauty about having a friend is you can do as many as possible. You can do one, go read, come back, do another, and that kind of just practices the communication skills and just removes that pressure of doing it. So I think that would be my tip. Tip 2 is practice and practice right. Like practice a lot and practice right in like a time boxed version, and mix in mock interviews. So yeah.
There's something we just want to fix the stream. There's something about the stream here. I think I know what's happening. We have 2 microphones. So I think we are using this one, the normal. Let me see if I cut off this one.
That's actually
that's the
okay.
The computers, right?
I don't know.
You can take the settings here. Yeah. Settings and
properties.
This should be 80.
Yeah.
I think by now it should be much better.
Okay.
And can let me know like how it is on the charts. I think we were using two microphones at the same time. I added a microphone by mistake, an extra microphone. So
fantastic. I guess it should be clearer.
Yeah, because you're saying like it was sounding metallic, which I think the reason why. This one, the computer one.
Computer and this one.
And this one, okay, good.
Yeah.
I love that. There's another platform that I came across some time back when I was preparing called Pramp. Okay.
Pramp.
Yes. And they just use the word Pramp is practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
Pramp.
Oh, I've never known.
Yeah, Pramp is practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect. So Pramp.com. So all these things actually we're going to put them in the notes after the post processing.
Yeah.
You guys will be able to see them.
Yeah.
So awesome. I love so far like we're very too strong. Actually, if we actually ended the stream here, already
a lot of content.
Ready to actually pass any interview.
For sure.
Let's go to 3.
3, I would say the third interview thing I would give is in interview. The thing I was talking about actually is like from the very beginning of my engineering career, I found that it is valuable to have a solution provided if it's not the best. So in a situation where you're in an interview, and you have a question where you kind of can't figure out like the right algorithm or the right data structure to use, stuff like that, I would advise often than not call out that this is a rough solution, like say tell the interviewer that's what you're doing, and then implement like some what people call brute force, so some inefficient algorithm and stuff like that. The thing I found with that is often when you're writing the brute force one, it kind of clicks. If you've done enough, then you find that I need to use a map here or something. Like while you're writing it, you figure out why you shouldn't write it that way. Like your brain wants to. Sometimes it's just easier to write the brute force one out, and then kind of review it with the person. And I found that there have been mixed like effects with the people. Like maybe like the interviewers will think like that's not okay, but often interviewers are very, like I said, going to interviews thinking. A lot of the idea of people in interviews are thinking this person is here to criticize me or stuff like that.
Mm.
But often than not, the interviewer just wants to they're interviewing your competency, like how good you are at this thing. They are not really, we should remove, and this is often maybe an African setting, where we go to test and you're thinking, this person wants me to fail.
Yeah. It's like, because even in school it used to be like if you get now everything correct, like the teacher wants to, did you like copy?
Exactly.
Like they don't believe
they
how
don't want you
to
win. Exactly. So this is a different idea where often I found that tech companies, like let me speak for Microsoft itself, the interviews processes are very good. Like people are actually sitting down thinking about fair questions to ask people without tricks. Like they're not tricks. So when you're going to interviews, don't get hung up on where the trick is. There is no trick. It's just write your solution. If it's simple to you, then it's fine. Like if you come up with it in the first 10 minutes, it's pretty okay. I've actually done interviews where we've ended early, and the interviewer is like, yeah, that's it. That's all I wanted to know. So don't get in your head about it. So I would say write that brute force thing if you have no idea, and just work through it. Communicate with the person. Often interviewers give you a hint. You end up writing the solution. You won't get you won't get the strongest yes from the interviewer. But they have learned some things about your communication. They learn that you can understand something from someone else and implement it. That's still a plus. So I would say do an interview. I've seen, when I'm doing interviews for people, I've seen people like stick to they are like, oh, I don't know exactly what to do, but I know a rough one, but I don't want to do that because that's wrong. So you end up wasting so much time just looking at each other instead of having something to work through. And I think that's a lot better.
And people don't know what happens in the back end side of things when you've interviewed someone and then you're going for a wash-up session where you're discussing. So a wash-up session is where we interviewers discuss about the interviewees. Okay, how did Kubai do? How did Nanda do?
Yeah.
And now for me, I'm presenting Kubai and I don't have anything to say because we didn't do it. We're just around trying to look for a solution.
Exactly.
So it's better to always, you're saying better to always have something.
Have something out there.
Whether it's poor or whatever.
Yeah. Actually, that's the thing. When you go to wash-ups, maybe you had 4 interviews and 3 of them you are a rock star and then 1 of them you kind of struggled with a question. When you go to a wash-up and the interviewer says, oh, we only did a brute force one, the candidate kind of struggled with getting an optimized solution, but the rest of the people are like, he was great at this, or she, then it's an understanding that it's just the question that was difficult, which is not a bad thing.
Yes.
Like, it's just that this concept was a bit hard for the person, which is completely okay. Exactly. Like, that you'll find higher in that scenario where people will be like, yeah, it's fine.
I don't have to get like normally you'll have, let's say, 4 interviews.
Yeah.
You don't have to get all the 4 yeses.
No. You have some maybes. The thing you don't want to is you don't want a no.
Yes.
And a no is someone who has no,
like
you have no idea of this person. They did not provide a solution. You had no input, because that's often when people say no, is when the interview is ended, you don't have a solution, you have done basically nothing, so you can't even defend the person. You can't say a maybe, because there's nothing to show. So I would say that's my third tip is get something out there, get something done.
Nice.
Actually, yeah.
Tip number 4.
Tip number 4. What's my tip number 4? My tip number 4 is basically, I think I mixed it up with 3, which is just be okay, like be calm about it, and
keep calm.
Keep calm, because the idea is a lot of people fail interviews because of pressure, and you can remove as much as of it from practice, but the real thing is, and I found this to be really true, if you have, and this is a trick I use myself, so if I really want to get into Microsoft and that's my key goal, I do other interviews actually myself. Like I string up a few companies to just get practice in, and that's I don't know how ethical that is, but it is what it is. That's how I do it, because then you're not going to this big company with all the pressure in the world of of performing today. So that's something I kind
No,
of...
that's really awesome.
Yeah.
And I used to tell someone that most times when you do something when you're calm,
Yeah.
even those companies that you're just trying to do like for fun,
Yeah.
you find that they're giving you an offer.
Exactly. And who doesn't want an offer? The more the offers, the better.
Like they're giving you offers. So at the end of the day, you might end up with a number of offers.
Yeah.
And you know, now the thing is, I think we'll have another session just talk about negotiation. Like now you've gotten an offer. What do you do?
For sure.
Yeah, I think I'll invite.
And that works then.
Yes.
Because you now have multiple offers.
You have offers, and now you can discuss. So
Yeah.
I think, and you know the good thing is that we've already agreed here that you'll be my co-host.
Yes.
So from the next session, we'll always be having Kubai here.
Yeah.
And discussing
Other things.
So look out for a session on negotiation.
Yes.
Like
what to do after the interview.
now you've passed.
Yeah.
What happens? What's next?
Yeah.
So look out for that.
Awesome.
Yeah. And if you're online and you have any questions, we are opening up for questions.
For sure.
If you be watching this later on and you have questions again,
Leave a
feel
comment.
free. Leave a comment and we'll get back to you.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, like I was saying, so that's ideally how I managed to kind of get that the jitters of, because everyone is like, I would understand it. Like when I was interviewing for Microsoft, I was very, like, there was a lot of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
It was COVID time. You are trying to lock up a job in one of the biggest companies in Nairobi,
Mm-hmm.
and there's always a lot of pressure that comes from it. But there is some beauty about just practicing interviews and getting that,
Mm-hmm.
and passing a few of them,
Mhm.
and you're getting that under your belt.
Mm-hmm.
But something I will say along with this is, failing interviews doesn't say you are not good enough
Mm-hmm.
for the position.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's just a matter of right place, right time.
Exactly.
And that's just, I would say that's a con. That's a negative of in algorithm and data structures.
Mm.
Sometimes the stars align and you're fantastic.
Yes.
And sometimes it's a bad day. Your head is just mumbled. You can't figure out things and you fail.
Mm.
And what I would say is just try again.
Yes.
Keep trying.
Mm.
And often these companies, the big companies, give you like I think Microsoft is 6 months, and I think that's the same for Facebook and Google. So after every 6 months, they'll come back, they'll offer you the same a position again, and then you'll interview. Because ideally, after a source has reached out to you or you have gotten to an interview point, they already know you are good enough. You just need to pass the interviews. So I will say for someone who's failed an interview or the like, just try again. Try
Yes.
again, because this is we haven't, like as an engineering hall, you haven't figured out interviews perfectly.
Yes.
There's still that bias of
Yes.
algorithms and stuff like that. So this time you ask an algorithm you've never heard of. Next time all the 4 interviews are algorithms
Yeah.
you are perfect at. So there's always that bias. So I would say try again. Often than not, you'll get it to the second round.
I like that point because also I think also at some of the streams we'll dedicate on just talking about the interviewing process, and also we critique like for me I don't agree completely with everything how it works, but as you said, we're trying to figure out in the whole engineering,
trying to improve
it's a whole problem that people are trying to figure out. I've seen people who have even now gone to, like the one that you started with, like you said they gave you a take home to build something. Some people do that, but now for big companies like Microsoft, they're having, let's say, 1,000 applicants. You do take home, and like how much time are you gonna spend on reviewing those? So it's something that people are trying to figure out, and we'll talk about it at some point.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's actually something private, like outside work, I've really given some thought, like how to change interviewing really, because often I feel like algorithm and structures are kind of limiting to your skills. Like let's say often, and I've found this with front-end interviews. So front-end interviews are changing for a front-end engineer, where often they do a pairing session. So you pair with someone and you build a page, or you discuss how you build a page.
Web programming.
Yeah, and I think that's a step in the right direction. Often for front-end engineers, that's a step in the right direction where you're actually doing what you do. So
I don't know why it can't be also for backend.
Yeah, I've
you
never
pair on
understood.
like the design,
exactly.
and then you pair on some, maybe you do just maybe authentication and then
because that shows me more. Really, as an interviewer, it's better to work with you on a problem than to like give you like some hash set somewhere and do blah blah blah. So I feel like there's a place for algorithm data structures, but then in my honest opinion, it shouldn't be the 4 interviews. Like there should be an interview for algorithm data structures. There should be a pairing one where you do like solutions and then design and stuff like. So I feel like there's a space for mixing this up. But like you said, we are improving it, and with big companies there's an issue of scale. So often algorithm data structures are easier to scale. So that's where we are today. But like I said, try again. Interview for Microsoft today. Interview for Microsoft tomorrow. You'll get it.
And actually, maybe we'll just digress a little bit and say we mentioned scale. So it just means that if you're a startup, there's no need to do interviews the way Microsoft does interviews.
Exactly.
Like you can always make it like pair programming, make it a little bit longer. You have a whole 1 week of take home. I remember my first interview with actually Andela. That was my actually very first interview in life actually, because initially I was just like you, where I was just doing gigs. No interviewing. It's about referrals. Someone refers you, oh, this guy knows this. You go there and get you do small gigs here and there. But the first time I did an interview was Andela, and it was actually NAD. They just gave me a take home. And it was just a challenge, like it was. I remember it was challenge.andela.co.
Right.
You go there and you get that. It's just one page a challenge. It asks you to build something with Firebase.
Yeah.
So you don't know Firebase. Maybe we've never heard of Firebase. You have to go look out for it. So it's showing you that this person can learn. They can build it.
Which is the benefit you have as a startup. As a startup or a medium-sized company, you don't need this algorithm and data structures kind of, four-round interviews of Microsoft. You can actually make it more personal. I would say lean more on take homes and pairing sessions. So someone takes home a solution, they come back, you pair on it, you review it, because that's basically real world. You are practicing real world. You're seeing them in their element, and that's what you need for a startup. You just need that kind of person. But I will agree completely. For startups, you need to, if you're running a startup and you're watching this, just rethink your interviewing process. You need to be more personal. You need to be more accurate to what you need as a position.
That's true. I like that you said more personal, because once you're more personal, you get to know like other nuances about that person. Even already you'll be looking for culture fit already.
Exactly.
You don't have to have another extra interview for culture fit.
Because you basically worked together for a while.
Communication. He said you'll deliver this by Friday evening, then they're sending on Sunday morning without any communication. So already no red flag communication.
Communication is.
It's not bad to deliver something late, but just communicate. Say something happened. Maybe you are sick. You see? You cannot say you are sick on Monday. Exactly. You are supposed to be Friday.
Actually, that's my fourth. My
sixth. I split number 4 into
fantastic.
Keep calm and also keep trying.
Okay.
Number 6.
Awesome. My sixth and final one is what you've just alluded to. Over communicate. In interviews, over communicate, and this is in the interview and basically throughout the process with your recruiter, with your sourcer. Just over communicate, ask questions, and ensure that you're being clear. So avoid having monologues in your head, like when you're thinking by yourself and no one is there. Communicate to people, talk to people, and like treat people as people. And I've found that people appreciate that when you connect with an interviewer on a personal level, when you talk to them. Because it shows fit, it shows some form of professionalism that a lot of companies really are looking for. And feel free to show that leadership skills, those skills you have that you have inherent, because they do come up, and like you said, we'll talk about them in negotiation, but these are the soft skills that come up when you're interviewing for Microsoft, and then they tell you from your interview we actually feel like you could lead a team because of how you carry yourself and stuff like that. So I would say bring your whole self to the interview.
Bring yourself.
If you're a funny person, be funny. If you talk, like, be who you are. And obviously there's a level of professionalism, but yes, engage person as a person. Yeah. And
that actually, even I would put it as a different point actually.
Yeah.
Bring your whole self, like.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that, because from also my experience, just a small anecdote what happened with me. One of the interviews, I think I was interviewing, and then I read about this interviewer, and we're just talking like, hey, I like whatever you guys did, something like. And you know, when I think everyone would like talking about himself.
Exactly.
Like it just changed. Like initially they were just very rigid and asking me questions, and then when you talk about like
something
they just lit up, because maybe even that one reminded them of something. But it's not like I was manipulating them. No. It just hit me like, wait, oh, how come they just changed like after telling them about this? Exactly. So I think just having a casual conversation, and even just forget that you're talking to like someone. Like don't have that like inferiority complex or something, feeling like you're lower or something. Because either way, sometimes you feel lower, because let's say sometimes you're interviewing someone, you look at their LinkedIn, they've been in this thing 30 years.
Yeah.
30 years, like 30 years, like at Microsoft, I see people like who they do like 30 years.
Yeah.
And you're saying, wow, now what will I tell this guy?
Exactly.
So if you forget about that, put that aside, and I think even you mentioned that. Don't be I think that I'll do a recap of what you just said. I still have 7 folks on the stream.
Fantastic.
Awesome. That's really good. Yeah.
Now you have 10.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, good. And by the if you have good. And guys, if you have questions, please drop them. We are actually monitoring the comment section. Yeah. Just ask questions. Like, I think all you need is to subscribe, and then you can ask a question.
Fantastic.
Nice. Now let's go over to your advice for interviewers. Already you've mentioned a few things like about startups and that, but you can recap. But
I think the one I will start with is the one for startup. So if you're a recruiter or on our business or startup, the idea of an interview is try to be as personal as possible, because that then kind of couples real world. You want to mimic real world as close as possible. As for smaller companies, take advantage of the idea that you don't need to scale. You just are feeling like maybe 5 positions. So change your interviews to mimic like your real world as much as possible. So you're communicating to both people. Like you're communicating to yourself, like you want to see the person like in real world scenarios, and you're also communicating to the person who's interviewing. This is the kind of work you should expect to be doing when you join, which is fantastic for both people. Exactly. Like everyone is getting a perspective of.
And even I've seen some guys who do like actually they actually who told me this? Someone told me there's a startup that actually interviews you. You work on a particular an actual feature, small feature that does not have, you don't have to have a lot of context. Because the good thing about startups, you just have very micro tools.
Yeah, exactly.
But MS, even first we have to have an NDA and all those kind of things.
Microsoft, right? You have to onboard. You have to onboard for like 1 month before you do something important. I get that. So and I've heard about startups who pay people. Like
actually, I don't want to say like you do it and it's not free work now. You'll be paid.
Yeah.
So whether you get a job or not, you'll be paid for the work that you did.
Yeah, and I completely love that, and I think those are the kind of people we should be talking more about and kind of highlighting, because those guys are changing the space. They're challenging current status quo, and they're making interviewing more personable. I will say a goal for myself is like as a person in tech, I would want to get to a place where interviews I don't have really to prepare for weeks, because I would imagine I'm a competent engineer. So if you're interviewing me for an engineering position, I should be able to come in
just the way I am.
Yeah. I should be able to walk in and
yes, tomorrow when do you want me to come?
Exactly,
tomorrow,
and have a talk and like interview, because I do this stuff every day. So that's the idea I would say for startups. I think the next tip I would say is for interviewers, really think about your experience, the experience you're giving, because there's something I always try to remind people is, if you're interviewing for Microsoft, 2 people actually being interviewed. Microsoft is interviewing you, but you are interviewing Microsoft as well.
Yeah, low-key, just
yeah, you're low-key thinking,
Mm.
is this a company I want to work for?
Mm-hmm.
And as an interviewer, that is your first job. You are the first person they meet. You are the first person who carries the flag of this company. So you need to think about your experience. Like you said, as an interviewer, you need to over communicate as well. You need someone to feel comfortable. So you need to be clear in what you expect them. I found this to be amazing, mostly in big companies. They really do put in a lot of work in this, where I've seen, I think they send you like prep material, they send you like their own internal prep material. They've worked on like some mock interviews, and they even highlight like topics you should work on and stuff like that. And I found these recruiters to be, they kind of build a very good rapport with the people they interview, so that the person is already happy to join.
Yes.
And as an interviewer's perspective, you want someone to be happy to join. That way, even in negotiations, you're not pulling each other, you're not pulling teeth. Because when someone is really just wants to come in for the money, like they're not happy about like the company itself, then you often start arguing about random things.
And even for the money, they won't be there for long.
Yeah.
Because someone else in the market will be giving better.
Exactly.
Very soon, someone will be giving
People
better.
will always go where they're happy. And there will always be more money somewhere.
Yes.
So what I would say is, have the experience be human, like treat people as humans, human beings, respectful, and then have it be good. So actually that's something I would say this is actually a tip for most. If there is a a recruiter in a big company, I would say think about the process, because a lot of the times sometimes the process is tiresome for big companies. It's too long. And that kind of feels like it's too tiring for the process. And yes, you have the advantage that you're a big company, so most people are interviewing for this position. But I think it's something to think about, where the interviews are lengthy, they are tiring, they're very engaging. Rather, they are not engaging, they just take a lot of energy to do them. So my worry is maybe you're losing out on people who would want to join, but it's too much. And they're doing something else. So that's just a tip for myself.
And then maybe even to add on something about the experience is, even if you have a very nice experience, you at the end of the day you come up with one ambassador about your company.
Exactly.
They come out saying, I really loved, as much as they didn't make it, I loved the experience.
I loved it.
They'll be referring people.
Yes.
And also you've told them they'll come back in next month.
And they will love
be there
to.
They'll love to come back.
And that's the thing. It's basically, and I know any recruiter watching this understands the economics of recruiting. So you want that referring, like referrals are cheaper than anything. Like you want people talking about the company, happy about it. And that's actually, I think that's a thing I would say I saw in Andela, where Andela had that going in the beginning. Rather, for a very big chunk of Andela's lifetime when I was there, you had a lot of people interviewing without ever like seeing an ad, because their friend told them.
By the way,
their friend told them, and they're being referred. So I liked that, and the interview process kind of took that in, because I met my whole team. I remember when I did for Andela, the sessions I had were very personal, because I remember I was doing for technical team lead, and I actually joined a Scrum meeting for the team I was to join, and kind of ran the meeting and stuff like that, which was very interesting, because it kind of they're seeing you in real world, which was amazing and stuff like that. So I love that, and I will think there's a tip for that, and that's that, like you said, you're creating ambassadors. Even if these people fail, they loved it, they enjoyed it. Like if you paid me for 2 weeks to interview for a company and I didn't pass, I wouldn't go out there saying, oh, they're bad. I'm like, yeah, these guys are amazing. So, and I will tell my friend, and they'll come interview and blah, 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 and people will go on. So I think that's a good one. I think my final one for interviewers is just, this is mostly for the interviewer in the interview.
Interviews.
Yeah.
Doing the interview.
Yeah.
Yes.
So try avoid those tricks in questions. I have, as much as you say they're not commonly, I've seen a few people with like having like gotchas and stuff like that, because
Yes.
it's just not the right feeling, or it's not the right way to interview, really, I would say. And make it personable, like do engage with the, like when I have interviews, I do take a point of saying empathizing with the person that this is a big thing for them, like getting into this company is big, so they are
Sometimes you do forget.
Yeah.
Like, you're already in.
Yeah, you're already
Even you forget your experience that you went through.
Exactly.
Like you just like
you need to understand that there's a lot of pressure in getting in, so you're already in, so sometimes you kind of forget that. But I would say, with that in mind, try and make these people kind of comfortable in the interview. Try make it like you said, personal, like be a human. Like you don't want to be like, oh, this is me, these are questions. Like make it more interesting so that someone kind of forgets that there's a lot of pressure, because that's when you really see the real people.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's it.
That's good. I'll do a recap of what we discussed, but we have questions coming.
Awesome.
I see Hebs. Hebs, I see you. Actually, you need to be. You're among my list of guys that need to be here. So I'll reach out to you. You need to be here at some point.
Yeah.
But he has a very good question. What do you think is the ideal interview process? That's one question.
Yeah.
How do you balance between false positives and false negatives?
Yes. So I'll answer. I think I'll start with the first. Then this is more of a personal question. What do you think is an ideal process? Myself. So ideally, I think algorithm and data structures should be a screening part. Like should be a screener. Like the way we do it. Yeah. Like you have your phone screen, the first one, where it's algorithm and data structure. That makes sense as a like to just understand that someone understands how to code. Right? You see that the technical phone screening one is the one where you do maybe it's more often a medium or an easy question where you just understand that someone can code. But I would say an ideal process for me is a mixture. So the actual process, the one I'll talk about is phone screening is fine. That's one where you have the algorithm data structures. But for me, ideally, I would have in the four interviews, I will have the normal ones: culture fit, design. Those are the two. And then I'll have one for algorithm data structures, which is kind of a medium question. And then I'll have a pairing session. I feel like we need to find a way to make pairing sessions scale.
Yes.
Because then you kind of see you see other things. Because even as much as we want to say, like we want to see someone communicate and stuff like that, it's hard to do it when you know the algorithm. Like someone asks you a question and you're really like, oh, I've seen this in lead code. So there's really not much to communicate, because you already know like the answer. So you're like, just do this and that. I would like a pairing session where there is like discussion and there's changing of ideas, where there's not really a right answer.
Yes, where there's no
we're just discussing as peers on how to get this done. So I don't know, that's my ideal. That's why I said ideal. I don't know how to scale it. It's something I've really given a lot of thought and haven't figured out yet how. But I would like that. I would like a pairing session with someone, because
I really love this, like where there's no really right answer.
Yeah.
And then this one even brings so many aspects of that person.
Exactly.
Like how do you, because in an actual engineering settings, there's never one answer.
Yeah.
That's why there are always arguments. Hey, let's do this way. Because whether you'll do one thing that maybe you'll be using a lot of memory, but very fast, or you'll do another thing that is very slow, or a little bit slow, but using less memory. Yeah. So it depends your setting. Do you have enough memory? Maybe. Maybe you want to run on a very maybe on a micro device. Yeah. That time you don't have memory. And
you've actually said the right thing, because that's the real world. The real world is that there are other variables than being the most efficient.
Yes, most efficient.
The other variables like, we want this to run on a smaller device, so there isn't memory, so we need to do this instead, and stuff like that. So I would like that for an interview. And then you start seeing, and the thing I like about it as an interviewer is someone can't really prepare for it, really. You can't cheat the system, like by just being perfect at algorithm. You need real world experience to understand a pairing session, like to have a pairing session. And as someone who's done a lot of front-end interviews, I would think that's something I've taken from that world, that section of interviews, and I would want to see it across. Where we go in, often in a front-end interview, you go in, you have a page you want to build. It's a simple one often. And you just go around like thinking about it. So, and that's the thing about front-end, there is no really right answer of writing your CSS or like you should have this class or that. It's just understanding like the process of this person and the elegance of the solution. I feel like, and as an interviewer, I feel like then I shine because I know I do this stuff. I just want to show you that I know what I am saying. So give me a scenario where I can be me, like I can do my thing, and I love that.
Nice. And then how about, first let's define false positives and false negatives.
Yeah,
balance,
a false positive is someone you felt is a good fit, and then they are not.
They come in and
and a false negative is someone you thought they don't fit, but they're actually amazing.
You lose out on them.
Yes.
How do you balance?
For me, actually, the thing I am afraid of most is actually it matters. Actually, this is an interesting one, because if you're a startup, then the thing you don't want is false positives, because so as a startup, you're a small company, so people with like a bad culture fit and stuff like that really affect like the company, because there's very few people. So if there's someone who has like bad like soft skills, they come to light more than in Microsoft. Like if so in a startup you're like you're required to like be more than an engineer often than not.
Exactly.
You need to wear more hats and stuff like that. So there's a lot of fear of getting false positives, because then there's a lot of repercussions. But I feel like, this is my personal opinion, for a big company like Microsoft, false negatives are more of a problem, because if you are losing people who should be here, then there's a problem with the process. Like if you're having like people say no to someone who should be in Microsoft, then you're losing talent from somewhere. So I personally I don't have a perfect answer for this, but I've seen Netflix do something very interesting. So, and I would think Netflix favors false positives over false negatives, where you come in and you do well in your interview and they are more capable of saying like yes, and then there is this strict review process generally in your career in Netflix, where I've read where you kind of have to review your work, and your manager has to like often than not keep defending why you exist, like rather why their team,
why you should still be
why you should still be here. And a lot of people say that's aggressive and stuff like that. And if you say that, if you take the words themselves, then it's aggressive, but it's a matter of how you apply it. So it shouldn't really be a matter of like defending, like we want to fire Ananda, explain why Ananda is here. It's been more of just thinking about, did we hire the right people? Like taking a review about it, like are we hiring the right people, and we keep like modifying our interviewing process to kind of fit the people we are getting. And I felt like it was interesting, because I read a blog post where someone was let go, and the idea was like after a while they were let go and they were given a good severance, and Netflix was like, we think like we aren't a good match as much as you passed, but we aren't a good match.
It is us, not you.
Yeah, they basically said it's us, it's not you. Here is 3 months salary. Please feel free to find another job, which I found interesting and kind of I found it in a personal way. I found it like I would appreciate that more than the opposite, where because then I feel like I get to perform in the real world. I get to like do me in the company, and if the company gets into a place where they're like, oh, we don't want you to be here, then they give me a severance and go. However, I have had the negative one where you come from Nairobi, you go to some other country, say Ireland or something, and then you're let go after 6 months. So that's a bit crazy, because you like left, you uprooted your life,
everything.
So
maybe kids change school.
Yeah, so that's crazy. Like so there's there's a lot of variables to how you, and I think it's about culture really. Here as an organization, you just have to, I don't think you can balance them. You have to pick one. You have to favor one or the other. And you have to say, we are more comfortable having false negatives than we are having false positives, or vice versa. And I think it's us not.
It's us not.
and I think I love that, where just a company just needs to decide who they are. And I've seen companies where they're like, we want the top talent. So we don't want false negative. We want, if we feel like you are good, come in, and then we'll have rigorous processes internally to ensure that we have the right people.
Keep the right people, yeah.
And you have the opposite. The people like no, we are very big on culture and stuff like that. So companies that are more focused on culture, companies that are culture, they want their culture to remain true. They are more capable of saying, rather they're more prone to saying, we rather have false negatives, people we lose, but we want people we get in to be like.
I think that's a very strong point to me. Because even me, my experience at Andela, I think culture started shifting whenever you had a lot of attrition. Yes, like for things like people are leaving. Even some people are just leaving for good reasons, but people will just say, hey, if Andela's left or if this person has left.
Exactly.
What's happening, you see? But maybe they just left because they've got a better offer.
I know.
But even they did never wanted to leave. So I think that's something maybe to consider. And also another thing about false positive and negative and false positives and false negatives, for me I would say also some countries have very strong labor laws. You get a wrong person and it takes you about 1 year to fire them.
That's very true.
1 year. Because you have to put them on a PIP, maybe performance improvement plan for another 6 months. And then you review that performance, how they performed. If they just show slight change, you don't have any grounds to dismiss them. And then you have a whole, and now it's taking time. So everyone who is doing this performance review, HR, whoever, the manager, so you just end up losing a lot of time and energy because you just messed up on your. So it's better, I think, even for me, it's better to lose on a very good candidate than get a candidate you're not sure about. But that said, I've been on the receiving end of that statement. Like so many times. I've interviewed so many big companies, them telling me no. Like where I feel like, guys, I'll have done amazing stuff with you, but you see, it's harder on the receiving when you're on the receiving end. But for the sake of the company, I think it makes more sense.
I get that, and like I said, it's a company. It's really a company decision, really, and or to just choose a struggle and go with it. And I get that, and I get the idea of false positives, and they are very expensive because people who are the wrong fit, like to get them out of the company, like even in a place like Nairobi, like Kenya has one of the best labor laws, I think, in Africa, and it's hard. Like to find someone in Nairobi, you have to have, without cause, you have to have like a lot of processes go into place. So I understand there are a lot of factors to factor in and stuff like that. So
and even the funny bit is that by the time you want to farm, like if you're putting me on a 6 months PIP, I'll be already looking for options. If I'll be tired with you, I'll be looking for options. So here you are doing your PIP, right? Thinking that you're at the end you're gonna fire them, and they just even leave after 3 months for a better job.
So I feel like you're kind of sunk cost.
And normally I think I don't, like, for me I've been a manager, and maybe we'll talk about all these things like in our future conversations about PIP. It's never, there's just a connotation, a bad connotation about it. I don't know even how you start, even if you try and sugarcoat it, like no, it just it's just stuff. And even someone can either just go 2 ways, they can just switch off. If they really never liked your company, they'll just like look for another option. If they liked it, they'll just say, okay, let's see how we can work on it. And even for me, I would say, as a manager, by the time we get into PIP, it means I've already failed as a manager. I already have seen those red flags way long and corrected them. So because PIP is where I would say we were green, you're good, then we were yellow, and then red. So we were yellow and we were just laughing, and then until it's red.
That's true.
And then it's red. So even for me, I should be even put on PIP myself.
I know.
As a manager.
I know, and it's a bad feeling to like you said, we'll discuss it later, but it's a bad feeling. I think it's once someone is on PIP, they have just a different perspective of the company forever. Even if they stay, they'll always have a kind of a negative view because they kind of went through a negative process with the company, which is not ideal. So you rather, like I said, at the end of the day, you rather have false negatives than have false positives, because basically you rather lose talent and improve on your processes recruiting than having people in and then trying to clean from inside. So that's it's
and then maybe for those who didn't know about the PIP is just performance improvement plan. I'm sure most of you have never heard about it because you're good, you're high performing employees. That's a term that you never come across it, but it's just about you're not performing very well, and then the company has to put you on a plan to see like how can you improve your performance, and surely just a very tough conversation. Nice, I love it. More questions are coming. You know, once you have helps on the if helps there, interesting points on PIP here. Nice. Yes, good. Helps, okay. Yes, it means that. Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
Yes, performance improvement. So, I don't know if we can do 5 minutes, just do something or...
I don't know, I'm a bit rusty.
That's what we did. So what? So let's try this. So guys, we didn't plan this, but we thought that maybe the last few minutes, which I think 10 minutes of this call, we could do a sort of a random interview.
Right.
But the way I'm thinking about it right now is maybe because you agreed to be my co-host, so let's be here. We can always have those sessions.
For sure.
So for now, maybe I can just say I do a summary of what you talked about, and then I give you a chance to do a parting shot, and we just close there.
Awesome.
So and thanks guys for being on the stream. I see that we have 11 folks there.
That's and I love the interaction. Awesome. Keep asking questions. Awesome.
Exactly. So if you joined, let's just do a recap. We talked about tips of interviewing. First, of course, we started with Kubai telling me about how he started his journey into programming. He started mainly right after high school. Then he went and did IT at JQuad, C++, Java, PHP. He's done that all, Node.js and JavaScript. But he talked about the tips. Number one, being planning. You talked about planning, making sure that you said your approach is to have sort of a timetable that you just follow, and you just know that at maybe at 2 p.m. you'll be going over this. And normally we are doing this when you already have another day job. So trying to mingle, maybe right after the day job at 5 or 6, you jump into preparations, stuff like that. Okay. Then you talked about practicing aggressively. I like the term that you use, be very aggressive. Like it's either, and even in planning, it's the very important point you say that it's better to go for not to take an interview than to go there unprepared.
Yes.
Because after all, again, you will interview, and then 6 months, if you don't make it, most times they'll give you a freeze. So you lose on 6 months. Why would you just wait for even a month?
A few weeks.
Even and I've seen even most of the recruiters, they will even give you a month plus. Like, yes, let's give you.
For sure.
You said at least when you're on the real day, when you're doing the interview, have a solution. Whether it's a brute force, which is like a poor solution, maybe what you call order n squared or n cubed, than not having anything. Just trying to look for that order n perfect, or even order 1.
Exactly. Instead of looking for the perfect solution, have one there.
That is,
and then work on it.
I see some comments there. I'll come back to you, Clement. And then there is, you said, I like the point that you said, keep calm during the interview. Don't try and not be over yourself in terms of just being nervous. But you know you cannot control nervousness. You said the best thing again is preparing. If you've prepared, you'll be okay. And also you mentioned a very nice tip that you maybe if you're interviewing for one company, you'll do even other interviews. As a way of preparing.
Exactly.
And even we told guys about PRAMP. There's a site called PRAMP. Basically, it's practice makes perfect. So PRAMP.com. If you go there, it's a very nice platform for practicing for interviews. And I always link it actually in all my videos.
Awesome.
Down there on all my videos.
Awesome.
Okay, and then you said keep trying. If sometimes, because the interview process is not perfect, you say that it's just better to always keep trying. You might. So I think there's a very big chunk of luck that plays also in most of these interviews.
Yeah.
You just be lucky you get into. You've just been doing linked list, and then you get in. They're telling you to reverse a linked list. Oh,
And you're like,
thank
awesome.
you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you just went over my video about reversing a linked list, and then that's the first question.
Exactly.
I said, okay.
There's
let's
an
do
element
this.
of luck, so keep trying.
Yes. Yeah. But so luck and keep trying, and then over communicate. That's what point number 6.
Fantastic. Yeah.
So point number 1, practice. Point number 1, planning. Practice aggressively. Number 2, have a solution, whether it's not the best. Keep calm when you're doing the interview. If you get a no, keep trying. Apply in various places.
Yeah.
Over communicate during the interview.
Exactly.
So those were the main points which I think are the major. I think most guys found us when we were discussing about advice for interviewers. So that I want to do a recap. But let's see a question from, is it a comment or a question from Hub? So Clement, based on your experience or industry insights, is there a lot of diversity in interview process for engineers in Nairobi? Or are a lot of companies converging towards the same type of interviews? Yes, that's a very good. And I think Hubs, you also mentioned it during when we were discussing, and maybe along the last point.
Yeah.
That for example, a startup should not try be doing stuff like what Microsoft and Google are doing. You have your own. Maybe just do a recap of that.
For sure.
Really a good point.
And so the question you have is, from my experience, I think yes, companies have kind of converged on, like, basically are copying, like the big companies are copying, like Microsoft, they're copying Google. But I have seen in Nairobi, I have seen outliers, and I've been part of interviews where people are trying to break the mold of trying to interview. And this is mostly the Nairobi recruiting firms, like the firms that recruit for companies like the local startups. I've seen them, since it's their job, I've seen them like trying to reinvent like the interview process, trying to do it better. And often even in stuff like Andela, like if you see Andela today, if you're interviewing for like a partner in Andela, being one of the biggest like companies of offering jobs, often than not you won't do an algorithm and data structures thing. Like you'll do it once when you get into like the Andela network, but you won't do it again because you're just doing more of culture fit and more of pairing sessions. But I will say yes, most companies are converging, and that's what we are trying to maybe offer. Our advice is, if you're a startup, you're a team, you're a small team, you don't need to do it like Microsoft, because Microsoft is doing it because of scale. They are hiring thousands and thousands of people. Like rather in their pipeline, there are like a lot of people applying, and they're recruiting them. So there are things they are doing that are out of scale. So I would say, try to be personal, and try to build for you. So as a startup, really think about what values you have. Like we talked about, if you value culture, if you value like excellence and stuff like that, try to tailor your interview process to you. And understand that Microsoft is doing what it's doing because of its size. And then you have the advantage, actually. Being a smaller company, you have an advantage of doing it a bit better, a bit more refined, a bit more new. And there are no rules really in recruiting. You just want to mimic real world as much as possible. And also improve that experience. Have that thing where people who interview for you are ambassadors of your company, even if they leave. So that's what I would say is, have that be your goal. Interview for you, like interview for your company and your size and your values, and change your interviews and build your interviews in a way that your experience matters. That's my advice. Nice. Yeah, we don't need a lot of Microsofts. You already have one Microsoft, so build your own company, have your own identity. Yeah,
nice. So I think we can end here.
Yeah.
I'd like just shout out to Habs, aka Clement.
Awesome.
Is always just a great participant, and actually you're on my list of invitees. So you should be here soon. You should be either the third or the fourth episode. I think the third.
Awesome.
So be ready. I'll reach out to you. I've just been putting like a list of guys that. So I'm trying to see like how I can exhaust the guys around here.
Yeah.
And then we go to some guys maybe we're at Meta. Some guys that.
Fantastic.
We just have at least have some guys even other guys maybe who are not really Africans.
Yeah.
Still have them on our platform.
Awesome.
Yeah. So. And thanks so much for agreeing to come for the first one.
Thank you.
We tried to figure out the stream as always. I think in the beginning we tried to figure out streaming, only to realize we just didn't click one button. Go live. So we're trying, why are we not live? Then it's just a button looking at us.
Yeah.
Go live, which was like a blue button. Anyways, Michael says I enjoyed the session. Shout out to Samuel Kubai.
Mike Ontewa.
No,
Awesome, man.
Nice. Good. We can end here.
Awesome.
I think I've said that, guys. If you don't know, Kubai will be my co-host always, and interchanging. When Kubai is not there, Hebs will always be here as my co-host, and we'll be always having a nice time. So thanks so much for joining, and even if you'll be watching this later on, remember to comment, like, subscribe, and see you in the next one.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay, cheers. Nice.